It's more important for a photographer to have very good shoes than to have a very good camera. Sebastião Salgado. This episode is all about the Canon FD 100mm f2. Tessa and I will have a closer look at it, test its performance, and give it the CLD score at the end, so stay tuned for that. But let's start with its features and handling. The lens was introduced in 1980, and since it's an FD lens, it naturally has that dreaded FD mount. It is, however, the newer version, which no longer has two locking rings, one on the lens and one on the adapter, but only the one on the adapter. You screw the lens in, just like with a normal bayonet mount. The locking ring on the adapter can come loose relatively easily. The lens won't fall off, but the aperture will be wide open at that moment. This is especially annoying when you're testing lenses and have set it to a specific aperture, only to realize later that the aperture wasn't actually closed properly because of this very ring. There's a solution though, and it looks like this. It's an adapter that doesn't require the locking ring. In this case, it's for Sony. And to find a similar solution for the GFX, you'd have to spend about €100. It's a mystery to me why not all FD adapters are designed this way. Anyway, let's continue with the lens. It has 6 elements and 4 groups. The aperture closes down to f32 and clicks at every half stop. It has 8 blades, the minimum focus distance is 100 centimeters, and the filter diameter is 52 millimeters. Its weight is roughly 440 grams. The aperture and focus rings feel great. The aperture ring clicks into place cleanly and precisely, and the focus ring moves smoothly through the entire 185 degrees range from closest to infinity. We will be testing the lens on a Sony A7III and this Fuji GFX50S. On the Fuji, it's equivalent to a full-frame lens with a focal length of roughly 80mm and a maximum aperture of f1.6. We begin with distortion and vignetting using this Adobe camera calibration chart. There's a bit of pincushion distortion and also vignetting of course, but at f4 it's already mostly gone. You can correct distortion and vignetting in your editing software, but you could also use the correction profiles I offer for download on my Patreon page. The link is in the description. Next is lateral chromatic aberration, which is visible, but fortunately only slightly so. Longitudinal chromatic aberration is more noticeable wide open, but it also retreats quite nicely when you stop down. Chromatic aberration in the focal plane is almost imperceptible. There's just a whisper of purple lingering in the image at f2, and it's gone at f2.8. If you put the lens in front of a GFX sensor, you'll see that the sensor surface is well illuminated. Only slightly dark corners are visible. Back to the A7, where we test sharpness at infinity. In the middle of the frame, we already see very good sharpness at f2, only contrast is a bit low. This quickly improves, and the image doesn't get much sharper as you stop down. Only at f22 and especially at f32, the image becomes soft due to diffraction. Halfway to the corner we see a result that is only slightly worse. Sharpness is similar, but spherical aberrations blur the edges somewhat. And even in the corners, sharpness is still very good wide open. However, in addition to the spherical aberrations, lateral chromatic aberrations are also present here. Now we're testing sharpness at minimum focus distance. At f2 and in the center, we see good sharpness. It becomes very good starting at f2.8 and remains that way before decreasing again at f16. f32 is pretty soft. Sharpness in the corners is noticeably reduced at first, but from f5.6 onward we get very good sharpness. At f16, however, it starts to decline again here as well. In our sharpness test at portrait distance, we see a similar result to before. Wide open, sharpness and contrast are slightly lower, but that doesn't necessarily have to be a disadvantage for portraits. For the bokeh test, we are switching back to the GFX. We see a wonderful creaminess at every aperture. And even when we increase the focus distance, the bokeh remains beautiful. The last of the technical tests is about Coma and sunstars. Coma as well as astigmatism are minimal at f2, or even barely noticeable. Starting at f4, the 8-blade aperture produces beautiful 8-ray sunstars. Now to see how the lens behaves in everyday use, here are a few test shots I took with it and the Fuji on my vacation to Reykjavik. Enjoy! And now it's time for the CLV score. For handling and features, it's a 7. For aberrations, also a 7. Its sharpness is a 9, as well as the bokeh. For the sunstars, we give it a 7 again, and since 250 to 300 euros for a used copy is still good, it gets a 7 there too. 46 out of 60 points. We have a new number 1, well deserved, I'd say. Thanks for watching everyone, and please consider liking and subscribing.